If you own a rental property in Arizona right now and you feel like you are constantly chasing bookings, dealing with the same headaches every single month, watching your income swing wildly from one season to the next, and just wondering if there is a smarter way to do this, I want you to stay with me for the entire video because what I'm about to share with you could genuinely change the way you think about your investment. And if you've been sitting on the sidelines thinking seriously about getting into real estate investing, but feel like the short-term rental market is too crowded, too expensive, too much work, or you just don't have the time to manage a revolving door of guests, this video is for you too. Because the strategy I'm going to walk you through today is one that most investors in Arizona are still underestimating. It's not brand new, but it has quietly become one of the most consistent, lower maintenance, higher net income strategies available right now, especially in this specific market. We're talking about midterm rentals. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what a midterm rental is and how it works, who is actually renting these properties, and why Arizona has such a deep tenant pool for this strategy, how the income compares to what you might be expecting, what to look for in a good midterm rental property, the legal framework you need to understand before you start, and how to take your first real step forward. This is the full picture, so let's get into it. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning because I want to make sure we're all speaking the same language. A midterm rental, you're also hear it called an MTR, is a furnished rental or a corporate rental. It is a fully furnished property that is rented for stays of 30 days or longer. That 30-day threshold is the key number. That is what separates a midterm rental from a short-term rental like an Airbnb, where your guests might be staying for 2 nights, 4 nights, maybe even a week. And it's also what separates it from a traditional long-term rental where you'd sign a 12-month lease with a tenant and hand over a mostly unfurnished property. Midterm rentals live right in the middle of those two worlds. Your tenant moves in, they stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes even 4 or 5 months, and then they move on. The property is fully furnished, all utilities are typically included, the internet is covered, it's completely ready to live in from the moment they walk in the door. Think of it like a corporate apartment, but with better design, more personal attention to detail, and a lot more intentionality behind every piece of it. Now, there is one really important distinction I want to make right here because it affects how you approach this entire strategy. A midterm rental is not a vacation rental with a longer booking. The guest profile is completely different. The property setup is different. The marketing is different. The platforms are a little different. The way you screen tenants is different. If you go into this thinking it's just an Airbnb with longer stays, you're going to miss what makes this model work. And we're going to talk about all that, but I want you to hold on to that distinction as we go through this. So why is midterm rental such a compelling strategy in Arizona specifically? What is it about this state that makes MTR model so strong right now? There are 4 major demand drivers that I want to walk you through, and each one of them is significant on its own. Together, they make Arizona one of the best midterm rental markets in the entire country. The first is population growth and relocation. Arizona, and particularly the Phoenix metro, has been one of the fastest growing regions in the United States for the past decade. People are moving here from California, from the Pacific Northwest, from the Midwest, from the East Coast. They're coming for jobs, for the cost of living, for the lifestyle, for the sunshine. And here's the thing about relocation that matters for you as a midterm rental owner. When someone packs up their life and moves across the country to Arizona, they almost never step off the plane and directly into a home they have already purchased. They need somewhere to land, somewhere fully furnished and ready to go while they figure out their next move. While their new construction home finishes being built, while they search for the right property to buy, while they get their bearings in a new city, that in-between period, that is your tenant. And in Arizona right now, there are a lot of them. The second demand driver is the healthcare and travel professional industry. And this one is the backbone of the MTR market nationally. Arizona is a massive healthcare state. The Phoenix metro alone has an enormous hospital network. Banner Health has campuses throughout the valley. Banner Desert Medical Center in Mesa, Banner Thunderbird in Glendale, Banner Australia in the West Phoenix, Banner University Medical Center in Phoenix proper. Honor Health has facilities in Scottsdale, Peoria, and Deer Valley. Mayo Clinic has a significant campus in North Scottsdale. Dignity Health, Valleywise Health, the VA Medical Center, Abrazo Health, the list goes on. And every one of those facilities brings in traveling nurses and other traveling healthcare workers on rolling short-term contracts. These are typically 13-week assignments and they repeat. The same facility might bring in hundreds of traveling healthcare workers over the course of a year. Traveling nurses are the single most reliable and sought after tenant pool in the entire midterm rental market. Here's why they are so valuable to you as a property owner. They have a confirmed assignment with a confirmed start date and end date, so you know exactly how long they need the property. They have employment verification readily available through their staffing agency. They are vetted professionals who depend on their professional reputation. They are not going to trash your property or cause drama. They almost always pay on time because their housing stipend covers rent directly. And they come back. The travel nursing world is a community, and good landlords and good properties get referrals within that community. If you take care of a traveling nurse, she will tell the next nurse on assignment at that hospital to look you up. That's recurring occupancy built on reputation, and it's real. The third driver is remote work. The remote work revolution did not fully reverse when offices reopened. There are still millions of professionals across the country who have geographic flexibility, who can work from anywhere with a good internet and comfortable workspace. Arizona attracts these workers for obvious reasons. The weather from October through May is extraordinary. The cost of living is lower than coastal cities. The outdoor recreation and lifestyle options are excellent, and the food and cultural scene in Phoenix and Scottsdale is generally world-class. Remote workers come to Arizona for a month, 2 months, 3 months. They extend when they love it. They come back the following year. This is a real growing tenant segment that is not going away. The fourth driver is something that very specific to Arizona and that makes our seasonal dynamics different from most of the country, and that is our extended seasonal visitor population. We all know about snowbirds. That's not a new concept. But what is newer is the profile of that seasonal visitors. It's not just retirees anymore. There's a growing population of semi-retired professionals, people in their late 50s and early 60s who can consult or work part-time remotely, couples who want to spend Arizona's incredible winter months here without buying a second home, international visitors who want to extend US stays. These visitors want a real home experience, not a hotel, not a traditional long-term lease. They want a beautifully furnished house that feels lived in and comfortable. Midterm rentals serve this exactly, and Arizona's winter season creates enormous demand in this segment from October through April. Now, what I want you to know about these 4 demand pools is how different they are from each other. Relocating professionals have nothing to do with traveling nurses. Remote workers have nothing to do with seasonal visitors. This diversity of demand is one of the most powerful risk mitigation features of the midterm rental strategy. You are not dependent on one type of tenant. You are not vulnerable to one type of demand shock. If the traveling nurse pipeline slows down at one hospital, your property might be picked up by a remote worker who moved to Scottsdale for the winter. If relocation slows down, seasonal demand is still there. This diversified tenant pool gives you resilience in a way that vacation rental income, which is heavily tied to tourism and discretionary spending, often does not. Let's talk about how the income actually compares, because I know this is what a lot of people are wondering when they first look at midterm rental. The first question most investors ask is, will I make less money than with a short-term rental? And the honest answer is more nuanced than a yes or a no. On a per night basis, yes. A well-run short-term rental in a premium location can generate a higher nightly rate than a midterm rental. That's real. If you have a stunning property with a pool in Old Town Scottsdale and you're running at peak STR occupancy during spring training, your nightly rate might be $250, $300, $350 or more. That ceiling is high. But the nightly rate is not the whole story, and this is where a lot of investors make a mistake by stopping their analysis too early. When you account for the full cost picture of running a short-term rental, platform fees at roughly 3% of every booking, cleaning cost of $150 to $250 per turnover, supply costs that come with every guest, the operational intensity of managing frequent guest turnover, seasonality that drops your occupancy significantly in Arizona's summer months. The net income on an STR is substantially lower than the gross revenue. Many STR operators are netting somewhere between 55 to 70% of gross revenue after expenses. Midterm rentals have a very different cost structure. You clean once at turnover rather than every 2 to 5 days. You don't supply consumables for every tenant because they take care of their own day-to-day needs after the first week or two. Your vacancy risk is different. When a tenant's contract ends, you release the property, not rebook it night by night. And because midterm tenants plan their moves in advance, you can often have your next tenant lined up before your current one leaves. Many MTR operators are netting 75 to 85% of gross revenue. On a gross to net basis, midterm often wins, and in some cases wins significantly. Here are some real numbers to put in context. In the Phoenix metro, a well-furnished 2-bedroom midterm rental in a good location, think Gilbert, Chandler, Tempe, or a well-positioned Phoenix zip code near a major employment hub, is typically renting for $2,200 to $3,200 per month. A 3-bedroom in a desirable area runs $2,800 to $4,000 or more. In Scottsdale or near a premium location, those numbers could go higher. At 85% net margin on $3,000 per month, you're clearing $2,550 per month. On an annual basis with consistent tenants, that's over $30,000 net from one midterm rental. And unlike an STR, you're not chasing bookings every week to get there. Now, I need to talk about the legal framework because this is critically important and I see a lot of people get fuzzy on it. In Arizona, any rental that is 30 days or longer falls under the Arizona Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. This is different from the regulatory framework that governs short-term rentals, which operate under Arizona's transaction privilege tax framework and municipal licensing requirements. When you're running a midterm rental, stays of 30 days or more, you are operating as a residential landlord under state law. What does that mean practically? It means you need a proper lease agreement. It means your tenant has legal rights and protections under Arizona landlord-tenant law. It means there is a legal process for addressing lease violations or pursuing eviction if ever needed. You cannot simply change the locks or ask someone to leave without following that process. It means you have obligations around habitability, disclosure, and proper handling of security deposits. I want to be direct with you here. This is not something to be afraid of, but it is something to take seriously. The way you protect yourself is by setting this up correctly from the start. That means a proper Arizona compliant lease agreement, not a generic template you found online. Tenant screening that includes employment verification and a background check and clear documentation from day one. A well-structured MTR operation has very little legal drama because you've been selective about who you bring in and you've given them a property and experience that makes them want to treat it right. But cutting corners on the legal setup is how people create problems that are expensive and stressful to resolve. Let me talk about what makes a good midterm rental in Arizona because the property itself matters a lot in this model. Location is always the starting point. You want to be near demand generators, major hospitals, large employers, corporate campuses, universities. In the Phoenix metro, that's areas like Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, Mesa, Peoria, and specific Phoenix zip codes near Banner, Valley Wise, or downtown Phoenix employment. In Scottsdale, proximity to Honor Health, Mayo Clinic, and the corporate office parks in the North Scottsdale corridor. In Tucson, proximity to the University of Arizona and the Banner University Hospital System. Beyond location, you want a property that functions as a real home. I'll say that again, a real home, not a vacation retreat. That means a fully equipped kitchen, not just the basics. That means comfortable, durable furniture that photographs well. That means a dedicated workspace because the majority of your midterm tenants are working either from home or coming off long hospital shifts. That means fast, reliable internet because slow internet is a deal breaker for both remote workers and professionals who need to access hospital systems and medical software remotely. That means good bedding, enough sets of linens and towels that your tenant isn't doing laundry constantly just to stay comfortable. And it means a clean, organized, well-maintained space that feels like someone actually cared about the person who would be living there. In-unit laundry is a meaningful advantage. A pool or outdoor space is a plus, but less critical than it is for STRs. Your MTR tenant is not on vacation. They're living their life and they care more about the workspace and the kitchen than the pool. That said, outdoor space lets someone decompress after a long day is always appreciated. The platforms you'll use for midterm rentals are different from STR platforms. Furnished Finder is the dominant platform for this market. It was built specifically for the traveling nurse and medical professional population and has grown significantly. You list your property with an annual fee rather than a per booking commission. Airbnb also allows you to list for monthly stays and has a specific monthly pricing option. VRBO accommodates midterm bookings as well, and direct outreach to hospital HR departments, to corporate relocation companies, to large employers brings people into the market. Can be a very effective sourcing channel that costs you nothing. And here's the thing I want to leave you with as we wrap up. Midterm rentals are a real business. They require real setup, real systems, and real management. But they are also completely manageable, especially when you approach them with the right structure and the right support. My company, Sun to Summit, helps investors set up and manage midterm and short-term rental properties across Arizona. If you want to know whether a property you already own or a property you're considering buying would work well as a midterm rental, if you want to talk through the numbers, the location, the setup, I genuinely want to have that conversation with you. Reach out to me directly. I would be happy to have a conversation. And I'm also a real estate agent here in Phoenix. So if you're not working with an agent, I can also help you identify properties and help you purchase properties here locally that would make a good fit. I'm a licensed Arizona realtor and I manage properties, so I can help you from the purchase decision all the way through the operations. That's the one-step approach and is exactly how I work with the investors that I serve. And if this video helped you see midterm rentals in a new way, hit subscribe. I put out new content every month on the Arizona real estate and rental market, and there is a lot more I want to share with you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're at. Are you already in the MTR space? Are you thinking about converting a property, or are you starting from scratch? I read every comment and I want to know. I'll see you on my next video.